Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden once again, although this brewery does have a little bit of Danish history as well. But we're going to do another Christmas beer, and this is one that was released on the 1st of November 2019 through Systembolaget here in Sweden. I don't know if this beer was in the local and Småsikt or whether it was in the Juldricker list actually, but it was released on the 1st of November 2019. I had an order that basically took in things from both of those lists actually. For this review though, we are going to head down to Malmö once again, and we're having a look at what I believe is my third beer from Rocket Brewing Company. This one is called the Expansion Immense, and it's an Imperial Stout coming in at 10.5% ABV. So it should be a really nice one, this. Rocket Brewing originally specialised in sour beers from what I remember, but it's only recently, I think basically since they moved over to Sweden actually, they've started doing kind of straight up, more purist beers I guess you could say as well actually. So really curious to see how this one turns out. This is the first time I'm trying a beer from the dark end of the spectrum from them, and as I always say, if you want a good measure of what a brewery's all about, try like an IPA at the light end of the spectrum and then try a stout or something like that from the darker end. So we're going to see what the dark side is like for Rocket Brewing Company. But I have a good brewery in my experience, and hopefully this is another good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Rocket Brewing Company before. No doubt you will see some more at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media there too. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for both the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you and one for the Swedish beers. I'll probably put this one in both of those lists because, like I say, this company has a bit of a kind of dual national history, if you like. But as always, please do as well get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Rocket Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Rocket Brewing Company are a Danish-Swedish brewery that were originally specialist in Brettanomyces beers, but they've since kind of changed to brew purist sort of beers as well, the straight up IPAs and Imperial Stouts in other words. So this company was founded back originally in 2014 by 5 people. So the 3 full-time partners were Kim Agerston and Thomas Schoen, they were the brewers, and there was also Ulrik Lerskov Schmidt who was dealing with the admin side of things. But they were joined by 2 other partners. This was Martin Mostrom, who was dealing with the design side of things, and Martin Hogold, who was dealing with the concepts. And both of those 2 partners were also dealing with design and marketing and social media and stuff like that as well. But Kim was the chef at the Malmö and Hurrikar restaurant in Copenhagen as well, and they began brewing quite extensively there, quite intensively, and just experimenting with lots of different stuff. So Kim participated in Mikkeler's taste panel, and it was there that he met Thomas Schoen, and they did a test brew on the big scale. And since all of the owners really liked sci-fi, they decided that they were going to name the brewery the Rocket Brewing Company, and a lot of their artwork actually kind of symbolises that. But unlike many Copenhagen brewers, they actually had their own brewery which was located in the small town of Haslev, but the brewery was in an old abattoir with a 260 square metre floor space, and they had a 500 litre brewing system there too. And they said that they were basically the world's biggest home brewery, if you like. But as of May 2015, they had a fermentation capacity of around 13,000 litres. So very unusual at that time for breweries in Copenhagen to actually have their own facility. Ölkollektivet would have been one of the few that were doing that. But they decided to move to Sweden and establish themselves in Malmö, and they released their first Swedish brewed beers through Systembolaget in late 2018. So I think it was around 2017 that they were starting to move across here. But there's since also been a change in the structure and ownership of the company. So the current owners of the company are Kim Agerston, who is still doing the brewing. There's Joel Carlson, who's also taken part in the brewing, but he does sales and PR as well. There's Aaron Halborg, who's a label designer. There's Carl Anderson, who does sales and finance. And then there's also Rickard Zetterberg, who does sales as well. And at the moment they're looking to expand their capacity because their beers seem to have established themselves fairly well here in Sweden. So yeah, we'll just need to see how it goes with the Rocket Brewing Company. But as I say, I first encountered these guys it must have been a couple of years ago now. It must have been about 2015, 2016, just when I came over to Sweden at first. And then for a long time I didn't see anything from them, even over in Copenhagen. And then I spied one of their beers in Hansa, so I picked it up and did it for you here, and that was only a few months ago actually. So yeah, it was an IPA from what I remember that turned out to be really quite nice actually. So it's great to see Rocket Brewing Company back, and kind of interesting that they decided to move to Sweden as well, because I know the alcohol laws are a little bit easier in Denmark, and usually most breweries would want to go the other way. But yeah, kind of interesting that. But still, a really nice little company this one, and if you get the chance to try some of their beers, definitely give them a go and see what you think. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Rocket Brewing Company at the moment. A kind of flying history, if you like, of how the company's been. But if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that as well. And you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different beers and stuff that they've done. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this one itself. As you can see, once again, from Rocket Brewing Company, you've got the lovely artwork on this. You can see the astronaut just sitting on his, what is that? That looks like a manta ray or something that he's going out on, that he's riding around in the sky on. But yeah, looks really, really cool. Yeah, I think that is a manta ray. It looks like, it really does look like a manta ray, but obviously he's just thinking about the universe constantly expanding and things like that, expanding and contracting. But yeah, really beautiful artwork on that one. The immensity of the universe constantly expanding. I quite like that. Plain white bottle cap on this one. On the back here it says, Captain's Log, does it end? Is expansion forever? In backwards forward motion, saddling my Fanta Ray, I unravel yellow order into chaos. It shifts in red into what the universe is growing, and from where does it come? The one thing I know is that it's dark, oh so dark. So yeah, obviously they've been watching a lot of sci-fi before this one. But yeah, no, nice looking beer, this nicely presented. And there you can see as well, I should have shown you this, there is the Rocket Brewing Company rocket symbol, which again is quite cool. But let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. As I mentioned to you, the expansion immense, 10.5% Imperial Stout, and I'm curious to see whether this is going to be a sweet stout or a more roasty toasty Russian Imperial, or exactly what it's going to be, but we'll just see how we go on. I'm sure, knowing this brewery, it will be a pretty damn solid beer. Let's see if we can get a bit more head on this. Ah, there you are, that's turned out not too bad. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from an Imperial Stout, this beer has poured a lovely dark ebony rosewood colour. You can see some of the bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there because I've just washed it before. But if you put light through this, you will get a little bit of a very dark kind of chestnut edge to the beer. A little bit of that kind of Coca-Cola coloured thing. There's a solid 1/3 finger of a frothy, very dark tan head actually, and you can see the booziness in this beer from just how the head is slowly, as you sugar it up, you can see that just moving slowly down the side of the glass. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it does look pretty damn nice, I have to say, but nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider that it is an Imperial Stout. And I have to say, just going by the aroma, I think this one will be quite a sweet smelling, and will be quite a sweet Imperial Stout I should say, not a sweet smelling one. So yeah, let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah. So straight away with this beer, what you're going to notice, it really has that, it's got a lot of dark chocolate to it, this one. It's really a sort of high, you know, like 80% cocoa chocolate that's coming out of this. There's a lot of woodiness to this beer as well, and it almost has a little bit of a kind of lactosey character at the same time, which is interesting. But yeah, lots of sort of woody notes, a little bit of an almost lactosey quality. Does it have lactose in it? No, it's oats. Ah, right, that makes sense then. So yeah, the sort of smoothness you're getting out of this beer will be from the oats then, rather than lactose. I was thinking it definitely had that kind of creamy element to it, but yeah, a good little bit of woodiness in there. So it's, you know, when you think about it, when you know there's oats in there, there's part of you just thinks that it is kind of bready, like oatmeal. So yeah, I guess it may well be something similar to an oatmeal stout. But yeah, there is a really lovely smoothness to this one, and it's almost like, if you think about like a kladdkaka, like a Swedish chocolate cake or something like that, and then you put the chocolate dust, the chocolate powder on the edge of it, it really is very much like, you know, it really, the aroma of this one really kind of reminds me of that actually. And it's like a very dusty chocolate note in there. You've got the smoothness of the kind of oaty, creamy kind of notes in there. The chocolate comes across like a sort of 80% cocoa, as I was saying. I want to say there's a little bit of brown sugar in here as well. Yeah, I want to say there is a bit of brown sugar in there, like a sort of treacly molasses sort of thing. It's quite a dark, highly caramelised brown sugar that's in this one. But some woody undertones in there, a little bit of nuttiness, and like I say, quite a treacly brown sugar. But the more you smell of it, the more the brown sugar comes across as being a little bit kind of toasty, if that makes sense as well. I'm not really getting any licorice or anything like that out of this. Sometimes you can get licoricey elements, maybe even a little hint of, there's maybe a wee hint of like tobacco or leather, probably more leather actually, coming out of the aroma here as well. In terms of the hoppiness then, definitely a wee bit of earthiness, little touch of grassiness in there as well, no real floral character. Pretty sure it's American hops, or it could it be Bramling's Cross that's in this. Just some of the aromas in there are a little bit reminding me of Bramling's Cross, maybe even Northern Brewer would be the other one. That's quite a popular hop to use in Doppelbock for the fruity notes. But yeah, with the fruitiness in this beer, it's a sort of slight, it's got a little bit of a raisiny sharpness to it, but it's more like a kind of datey, plummy kind of juiciness that's coming out of the beer. There's a few blackberry, blackcurranty kind of subtleties to this one as well. So in terms of its aroma, this is definitely one of the creamier and slightly sweeter Imperial stouts that you're going to come across. So I guess it really suits what you would want from a kind of Christmas beer actually. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it, but we're going to have a taste of this now and just see how we get on. This one is the Expansion Immense, a 10.5% Imperial Stout from Rocket Brewing Company, originally from Copenhagen in Denmark, but now based in Malmö and Skåne here in the south of Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål! That's pretty damn nice, I have to say. First impression of this is that this is surprisingly light in the mouthfeel, but it's got a hell of a lot of flavour to it. This beer, for me, this beer is all about the aftertaste. Yeah, this is one of these ones that it's actually very light on the mouth, but in the aftertaste, this beer really gives you a good level of complexity. This is a nice one. It's unusual how everything kind of comes out in this beer actually. So yeah, just take a few sips of this and ponder it before you start trying to analyse it too much. But yeah, sugar it around your palate at first and let your whole mouth adjust to it, because it does come across as quite light in the beginning. I'm really surprised at how light this beer is in its mouthfeel. But yeah, that'll be the oats that's given it that. It feels very, very slick. It's the mouthfeel that stands out about this one for me, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. So yeah, let's try and break this one down a little bit then. So in the base of this beer, you can feel a little bit of that black malt, and that comes out into the aftertaste. The sort of roastiness that you have of this beer, though, it's a little bit dry, but it's not overpowering. This beer, and the roastiness is a kind of ever-present in the flavour of this beer. On top of that, though, you can feel the oat qualities to this one just smoothing out the whole of the middle of your palate. So you've got the roasty black malts underneath, but the oats really smoothing the thing out a little bit, and it finds a very nice balance in that regard actually. I really like that about this beer, just the way that the oats and the black malt balance each other. So yeah, the chocolatey notes to this beer also are really kind of interesting. The chocolate is, it is quite that there's a balance in this again. In the middle of your palate, there's a wee bit of brown sugar there, and it is kind of a sweeter caramelly note. And as you move kind of further out from that, you do get a few more toasty brown sugars as well. But the chocolate notes are also sitting there, and in the centre of your palate, they come across as being almost quite milky, to be honest with you. But then as you move further out into the rest of your palate, it actually becomes a lot higher in terms of its percentage cocoa. You know, you start to get you know, those sort of 70, 80, 90% cocoa chocolates, and I guess the further you go out from the very centre of your palate, that's where you get the most roastiness and the darkest chocolate. So this is a beer that it really is very sweet in the centre of your palate, and then as you go further and further out, it starts to get more, pardon me, roasty and toasty and things. So that's a really interesting point to make about this one, actually. Yeah, and definitely the roasty dryness, as soon as you take a sip of this, that sits there, but as I was mentioning earlier, it's really well balanced with the kind of oaty smoothness that the beer has. I really like that about it, actually. This is one of these beers where the flavour is really very nice, but it's just unusual. It has kind of things that you would expect from an Imperial Stout, but the way that things come out, the order that they come out in is quite unusual, and that's what makes this beer kind of quirky and unique. You would never guess that this was like 10.5% alcohol either. It's a little bit dangerously drinkable for a 10.5% Imperial Stout, so bear that in mind with this beer as well. I can't remember how much I would have paid for this one. I guess it would be like 40 crowns or something like that, so you know, pretty good value as well, I have to say. That's one of the good things about Systembolaget. It's non-profit, so all the money that you would pay would go to the brewery basically, and it keeps the prices of the beer down as well, which is always a good thing. So yeah, this really is a nice beer. There's maybe, if you go to the front corners of your palate, then move in a little bit, you will get some woody undertones out of this beer at some point as well. Maybe there's a bit of a leathery kind of thing going on in the middle of the palate as well. That kind of encompasses the whole thing, and it kind of feels like it's mixed in with the oats a little bit. So all of the complexity to this beer really is in the centre of your palate with the malt base. On the hoppy side of things then, the back corners of the palate, you do have a nice little bit of an earthy, bitter bite to this beer. I'm not sure. I've got a feeling there might be a bit of English hop in here as well as something. I mean, there could be a little touch of Fugel or something like that, but it doesn't feel quite ashy enough to be Fugel. But yeah, I think there's, just going by the strength and the darkness of the earthiness in here, I think it's a combination of an English hop and an American hop. But as you come further forward along the side of your tongue, the earthiness just smooths out a little bit. You get a wee touch of floral character at the front corners of the palate, maybe even it's very slightly herbal in that floral character too, and that's what's making me think there's an English hop in here. And then round the very front curve of your tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy, and then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. Yeah. So the fruity side of things then, it's not quite as thick and juicy in that sense as I was thinking it would be from the aroma actually. You get a good little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry kind of thing the further you go into the aftertaste. The figgy notes as well are quite nice in this, but when you come to the back of that fruity part of the beer, you can feel the roasty black malts kind of pushing into it. It feels a bit like a kind of charred chocolate fruit cake almost. So there is a wee bit of a kind of plummy, datey, juicy kind of thing at the back of that fruity bubble, but then on the tip of the tongue as you come forward it gets to be a little bit more figgy, and then the further you go into the aftertaste it's more kind of black currants and blackberries and stuff like that, I have to say. But overall this is a really quite nice beer. It's one of the drier Imperial Stouts that I've come across, and it's interesting that because it's got a lot of aspects to it that would make it a slightly sweeter stout, but that roasty, black malty backbone that it has is quite nice. And that, as I say, the interesting quirky thing about this beer is one, the mouthfeel, and two, how the oaty smoothness and the black malts kind of blend in together actually. So I like how that all kind of mixes in. So yeah, try this one for yourself and just see how you go on. In terms of flavour, it is pretty nice and it's quite quirky in that regard too. That's what you want when you've reviewed about 1900 beers. You want things that are going to make you think a little bit. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, this is one of the lowest bodied stouts or imperial stouts that I've ever reviewed. I think this is it's very light in terms of its mouthfeel. Yeah, and in fairness, it does. The more you drink it, the more it does get a little bit thicker, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it is still very light. I think, pardon me, don't know what I did there. Yeah, but with this one, you it gets a little bit. You'd be lucky to call this one mid-bodied. I think, yeah, in fact, well, that's not a fair statement. It's this is a mid-bodied beer, generally, but very light for the Imperial Stout style. The carbonation's really smooth. This one has quite a wet mouthfeel, and I think it's that wetness that makes it feel a little bit sort of thinner, if you like. But it doesn't lack anything in flavour, to be honest with you, and that's the main point. I think the mouthfeel is negligible a little bit. But with the malty side of things, then, like I said, good balance between the roasty and smooth side of things from the black malts and the oats, but you have got a good degree of sweetness to this beer as well, particularly in the middle of your palate. So yeah, bit sweet, bit roasty, and a bit smooth in the malt base, which is nicely balanced. The hops have got a good little bit of bitterness. I think overall, with the IBUs of this beer, you must be talking about 60 or 70 with this one, maybe even a little bit more than that. And that's both from the black malt and from the hops, I would say. And you've got a nice kind of juicy fruit to this one. It's quite a wet fruity quality, actually. It's not big and oily like you can get from some Imperial stouts. But if we had to put this one on the Imperial Stout spectrum, if you like, I think this one, it's got some of the elements that you'd expect of a Russian Imperial, but it does have some sweetness to it as well. So it's quite difficult to place this one, to be quite honest with you. But the main question is whether it's a good beer or not, and it is. It gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again, but you know, I would be keen to try some of their other beers as well. I do like this one, but it's definitely one of the lightest Imperial stouts I think that you're going to come across. But a very nice addition to their range for Christmas, actually. But I'd be curious to see if they've got some other stouts and see how those ones are as well. But because I find the mouthfeel of this one pretty light, and that's unusual. But it certainly doesn't do the beer any injustice. You have to say that about it. So yeah, a lovely Imperial Stout from Rocket Brewing Company gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, but I would be curious to try some other stouts from them and see how they turn out as well. But quite quirky, and it's been nice to review this one for you as well. What was it? The Expansion Immense, yeah. The Expansion Immense at 10.5% Imperial Stout. Kind of it's a little mix of an oatmeal and a Russian Imperial Stout, this one. It's probably fair to say that, from Rocket Brewing Company in Malmö. A lovely beer, this one, and a nice addition, pardon me, to their Christmas range. So have a go at this beer if you get the chance and see how you get on. But let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Rocket Brewing Company as well. I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the near future, but check this one out while it's available for Christmas. And yeah, I think the next beer, I'll see if I can get another stout from them and see how that turns out, because that mouthfeel, I think, is very, very interesting. But yeah, until the next time, thank you for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. The Expansion Immense at 10.5%, an Imperial Stout from Rocket Brewing Company in Malmö here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, cheers.